Hi everyone, Richard Carlton here. Exciting moment. We had the opportunity to interview Ryan McCann, the new Vice President of Sales at Claris. So he was here with us at day 3. So welcome to day 3 of our live streaming. And this is just the Ryan McCann interview where he gets to talk about the vision of Claris, formerly FileMaker, and how that affects his job and how he's working with the consultants to deliver that to the customer. What I want to do is go ahead and introduce to you the new Vice President of Sales of Claris. Do we say Claris International? Is that what we say?
I just call it Claris. I think it's a lot easier. Yeah.
All right, good. So what do you want to communicate to people that are out there? There'll be hundreds now, and there'll be thousands over the next X number of weeks. When they see this message from you in terms of FileMaker's vision, what do you want to tell them?
I think that this ecosystem should be really excited. I think that what I see in my position in the market every day is growth. And I see a lot of speed. I see a category forming. I talked about this earlier during the FBA keynote, but I'll say it again for those that weren't there. You know, I grew up in business intelligence as that category was forming. And in the early days of business intelligence, all of the ingredients that I experienced and I lived through are exactly what we're seeing today. We're seeing a tremendous number of technology vendors moving into the space. We're seeing large established companies, the Oracles, the Googles, the SAPs of the world, making announcements around products and acquisitions and their strategy that are going to come into the space. They see what we see. And that really validates this market. The analysts are covering it. They're trying to mobilize to establish a name for the category and start ranking and sorting vendors. So very consistent with what I went through early on in business intelligence. And that space absolutely exploded. This space is projected to grow 7 to 10 times over the next 5 years. And all of the indicators are there. The opportunity for all of us in this ecosystem is huge, but you know, we needed to address some things, and I think that over the course of this last few days and the product announcements we've shored up a big gap through the announcement of our cloud strategy. So that's the first thing that was necessary for growth. I see it every day across all of the geos that the lack of a real cloud offering has been a hindrance for us. And the fact that we're launching in October, it gets us into cycles that we're being excluded from today, which means by default we're conceding market share. The second thing is we've got to modernize our stack. We've got to have a more modern user experience. We've got to create the ability to author in the web. All of these things are expected in this market today based on all of this crowding and swelling that's taking place. So we're taking that head on. And third, I think we need to kind of launch beyond just custom apps and move into the next S-curve. And the acquisition of StampPlay and the product vision that Srini had announced during the keynote is moving us into a completely different environment. It's a totally different trajectory for our organization. That acquisition gives us the opportunity in the near term to sell a standalone product besides FileMaker, in conjunction with FileMaker. It can become a lead source for FileMaker. FileMaker can be a lead source for it. For people that are in this community, should be licking their chops right now because of the fact that we have this captive audience of 50,000 customers that are waiting for a tool that will allow them to clear up this mess within their organization that they've got with all of these applications that cannot be connected. And then ultimately moving into the realm of orchestrated workflows, which is where the market is heading, right? All of these things that we're talking about today, the vision for our future, it is aligned with where the growth is occurring in the market. We are better positioned than anybody else. Nobody has the assets that we have. Nobody has the ecosystem of developers, of partners. Nobody has the ecosystem of customers. Nobody else is a subsidiary of Apple. Those things combined put us in a huge advantage to take advantage of this market.
So that's one of the things I've been hearing is this orchestration, right? The word orchestration, that word I hadn't heard a lot of before, right? And that's now part of the vocabulary, right? So he services the connectivity, the integration, huge part. You could sell that within the FileMaker community. You can actually connect it outside the FileMaker community. Huge opportunity here. Huge opportunity.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and I think it kind of moves into the realm of managing data and the way that data flows through a human experience, right? So imagine, a patient going into a doctor's office, and every step that they take, they're scanning a record, and all of these different applications in the back end are tracking the movement of that patient throughout that experience. It's creating a completely new digital experience. Yeah, there are apps for sure. It may require the building of new applications, but it's ultimately about the flow of that user's experience through whatever that workflow might be. And that's where we really get into being able to leverage things like Internet of Things. I mean, another example, HVAC. If you're a company that sells services and equipment for heating, ventilation, and air conditioning, if you can imagine the workflow that would be involved in that, and all of the different areas where FileMaker and Stamplate can work together, from the time that you get a service call to the time that you're out at the warehouse solving the problem based on sensors that are giving you an early detection warning, to the order kicking off, to the parts in your warehouse to be ready for you, loaded in a van, to the invoicing. That entire workflow experience being automated through our integration capabilities and our application capabilities, leveraging Internet of Things, leveraging machine learning along the way, et cetera.
Well, it's huge, and we've had other senior consultants in the community come in here, and they're all blown away by this DevCon.
Yeah,
it's an event that people should be at every year, and I recommend, obviously, for the people that aren't here this year, and you know who you are, I've been talking to you, that you folks definitely need to come to this. In fact, there's a lot of them that wish they had listened to me. I tried to say, big things coming, but, Well,
I mean, look, let's be honest. There haven't been a lot of major announcements out of this company in a long time. You need a reason to draw a crowd. Without having the ability in advance to announce some of the things that were coming, it's hard to create that swell. But I think that people are going to look at what happened this year in a very short amount of time. As the baton was handed off from our prior leadership to Brad as our new CEO, this should be a signal to the market of where we're going as an organization. If we've made this amount of progress in this short of a time, imagine what's going to happen in a full year, and what's DevCon going to look like next year.
Yeah, it's one of the things people were like, well, when did Brad take over? I said, well, it was like January or February, and instantly there's acquisitions and all these things are happening. And obviously you have the backing and support of Apple, which is not a trivial thing. That's a really big thing, right?
They're behind our strategy. They understand, Brad's working at the right levels with an Apple. One of the big differences here is that he's painting a picture, he's sharing our vision, and the people that are at Apple that need to kind of be behind that, they're getting behind it, and they understand what our potential is. They obviously see the market opportunity for what we see, and we're given the opportunity to make some investments to grow this business. Our focus is to grow. We make products, we sell products. You guys deliver solutions. Our objective together is to grow this business, and we're going to get the support that we need to make that happen. But at the same time, the expectation on the other end is that we do grow the business. Yeah. So in my world, moving into the position of Vice President of Sales, everything I'm doing is aligned around growth. Through the Apple channel, through our partner channel, through cloud, through Stamplay, through our install base and retention. Those 5 pillars are the 5 pillars that I'm focused on this year. All of the initiatives that I have in place are geared toward within these pillars, how do we maximize our growth potential while this company is continuing to make that easier and easier by developing and producing a product that becomes even easier to sell, and by creating an identity and a message. And it even goes back to our workplace innovation platform category, bringing clarity to a market that's become incredibly confusing. These moves started a year ago, right? The category, the establishment of a workplace innovation category was the very first step toward where we're going. Right out the gates, all of this crowding that's been occurring in our marketplace, we had to clarify who we are, what's the problem we solve, and who do we solve it for. From there, it allowed us to really get clear about our vision for the future, and that's where the Stamplay acquisition came in, that's where the identity came in, and this is now where we're going.
Well, one of your new mottos or taglines is power to the problem solvers. Do I have that right?
You do.
And that's really, I was like, wow, who came up with that? Because that's really, it's really, to be honest, it's perfect, because the developers community that's here, that's watching this, listening, they want to know that they're a valued part of the team.
Yeah.
They want to know that you value them. And the entire tagline is about giving them the power because they are paid problem solvers, right? And so whether you're in-house, a corporate in-house person, or a developer that's hired for contract, this is about giving you the tools, the clarity, the modernization, the leadership team. I've been watching Brad. These guys came on board, and I was like, oh man, new sales guys, right? Oh man. And they were learning, they're working. And then I said, oh, Brad's talking to everyone. He's moving around. And then before long, Dominique retires, and almost instantly there's the corporate change, even at headquarters, right? There's a change in how they work and how they interact, and really it's much more aggressive. It's clearly aggressive.
Yeah.
The developer community is loving this.
Yeah, I mean, Brad's made no bones about it. We're taking a very aggressive posture, and I want to clarify that I've worked under Dominique for 5.5 years. I have the utmost respect for Dominique. I learned a ton from Dominique. Dominique did a remarkable job of running a business, managing and incubating a product over the course of time profitably. And at the highest possible standard. It just so happens that as Dominique is moving out and passing the baton to Brad, at the same time, the market is now doing this. It's a completely different day, and that requires a very aggressive posture.
Yeah,
so,
and completely fair, Dominique, he came in, he was dealing with Steve Jobs, frankly, which was not an easy thing. And one of their jobs was to consolidate the product, get rid of things they didn't need, simplify things. We've talked to some, employees, and it was, that just dealing with Steve Jobs is a handful, right? And so,
I didn't know him, but I'll take your word for it.
No, it was a handful. He ran me off the sidewalk one time in his parking spot in front of Apple. I kid you not. So Dominique had to deal with a very different world when Dominique was here, and that's why it's so important. The big deal was there was shelf space on the shelves for the boxes of FileMaker, and you were competing with Microsoft Office to have your box next to that box and having the shelf space. And that was a trick. That was a big deal. And now the world has utterly changed, and there's frankly a newer, younger management team that sees this and is aggressively addressing it.
Yeah.
And I'm
fired up. I'm fired up. All right. Nice to meet you all.
Yeah.
I wish I could see who I'm dealing with. I'm staring at a camera
They're
right
actually
now.
texting and writing and commenting over there. There's a few conversations over there. Yeah, so where is everyone from, Miles? Where are they from? All over the world? Norway, Vegas? Where? I know some Russia in there because we're broadcasting to YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch all simultaneously.
Oh, very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, so it's big. So, all right, well goodbye from 2019, the Claris Developer Conference in Orlando, Florida.
Thank you. Appreciate it.